Welcome. This is the first part of the course, Confident Me. This part is called Reasons Behind Low Self-Esteem. In this part of the course, you will first understand what's happening with you. And only when you know that exactly, you can do something about it. It is true that you feel impacted with the low sense of self, but do you know that there is not even one person who has not experienced this situation at least once in life? It is a different fact though that your feelings may not be same as those experienced by others. And also, the impact of the situation appears big only to the person who experiences it. Nobody else can feel that impact exactly how you are experiencing. For this, let us understand this word low self-esteem. Low means less, and self means you yourself. And esteem comes from the word estimation, that is, the qualitative evaluation. Now a question arises that who is estimating yourself as low? And who is feeling low because of this estimation? Your answer to this will be, my mind estimates my self-image as low and I feel low. It is important to know that in between these two incidents, the thinking and the evaluation, there is a subtle gap that you do not understand. By this, it is meant that there is an involuntary thinking that is happening in your mind that makes you feel low about yourself. And this happens because of a conditioning of your mind that makes you feel this way. Have you noticed that some people are able to come out of this thinking and feeling cycle very quickly? But you have been continuing to feel less of self from a long time. What goes different? It is the conditioning of your mind that makes it more difficult for you. Now, another question that arises is, but why to you? And why this much? The answer is, it is the constant thinking which happens in the subconscious mind that makes it all different for you. Most of the times, people are not aware of these subconscious thoughts which finally turn into beliefs. And these beliefs manifest in form of the sense of being less. Let us understand the reasons behind the feeling of low self-esteem. The first reason for sense of low self-esteem is disqualifying self for all the things that you do. This is a critical factor which leads to feeling of low self and lack of confidence. It is the mind that takes you into self-blame and self-doubt about the life that you have lived till now. Your mind is in a habit of finding blame on self on every unfavorable thing that happens around you. This happens because you compare self with others, and this constant comparison has created an impact on you. It is true that during a tough situation, people end up blaming self or others even when they know that this blaming is illogical and damaging. But constantly blaming self for things that you have not even done is unfair. In fact, it is because you constantly tell to self that you are incapable, and this leads to lack of intellectual capability at that very moment. Ask yourself, do things happen in life only because of you, or do others contribute as well? So at the moment, you feel less of self because somewhere you have internalized that everything that is happening around you is only because of you. So at this point, you are feeling that you are less than others, when in reality, you are not. This is actually your mind in the mode of self-rejection, whereas it is not you being less. Now, this is another important realization that this inadequacy is there not because you are inadequate, but because you think that you are inadequate. All the parts of life are like a puzzle that you have solved till now, and they are all needed to solve the puzzle completely. Every step was needed. At the surface of it, you find the puzzle yet unsolved, and you give up saying that you are less or inadequate. Instead, you need to tell yourself that you are very close now. In the next part, you will become capable of solving it. The second reason for sense of inadequacy is thinking too much about negatives and weaknesses. This happens to most people who have low self-esteem or low estimation of self. It is like masochism, driving pleasure by inflicting pain on self. Your mind considers self as target, and it inflicts emotional pain by using self-rejecting thoughts. It's all in the mind, so the intensity of self-doubt increases when you think a bit too much about the ideal life day in and day out, thinking about weaknesses, be it incapabilities of own self, or negative physical features, or negative personality traits in self. Do you not say to yourself statements like, "I am not good enough," "I am a failure," "I do not look good"? Saying this way has never made anyone become confident. Living a life with confidence is possible when you are not obsessively thinking about your weaknesses and negatives of own self. Continued thinking about weaknesses and negative traits of self deviates people from their responsibilities and demands that need to be fulfilled, which eventually leads to lesser accomplishments, and people end up being in this vicious cycle of self-negation. The third reason of low self-esteem is allowing others to comment on your failures. This is another very common reason because of which people have low self-esteem. Most people are not assertive, and due to this, they end up allowing others to judge them and their life. So if you do not stop these people in your life from commenting on your failures or weaknesses, you end up believing their statements, and a sense of inadequacy about self settles in. And then, instead of planning out your career, your life decisions, and tasks to enhance self, you just get drifted by what others say to you. Eventually, you prove them right. Even if you have planned to create success, but due to lack of assertiveness, you end up believing the statements that others have said. And this fails your planning. You have never been able to speak up for yourself. Maybe because you do not trust yourself. Till you were a child, you looked up to others and you trusted whatever they said about you. But now, things have changed. Now, you are not a kid anymore. Those who are confident and have belief in self take steps despite all the odds. They know that listening to negative comments about self is detrimental to their self-image. Similarly, you also need to make a conscious effort to remain away and untouched by the negative judgments of people, even if these people are in your own circle, your own family, or work. This can be done either by being away from such people as far as possible or by assertively stopping them to comment about you. Also for this, you need to work on few skills that you lack. This way, you will be able to get out from that position of self-doubt and self-rejection. The fourth reason of low self-esteem is being too busy in connecting everything to self. All the time, your mind is busy in finding some or the other inadequacy of self as the reason of every failure. Your mind always keeps an ideal scenario as a benchmark for success. Your mind has to find some or the other way to hold self responsible. The mind is in the all or nothing thinking mode. Those who do not keep idealistic life as a parameter of success have no problem at all. And there are others like you who are in strong clutches of the mind. The mind fails you by relating everything with some or the other weakness of self, even if that weakness is not a weakness in reality. Here, the first step for you is to break this pattern of your mind. And only then you can take the next step of gaining confidence in self. This needs to be done systematically. The fifth reason for low self-esteem is difficulty in finding the way out. You want to change your self-image, but your struggle is that you are unable to discover the way. For this, the first hurdle that exists in your mind is that it does not believe that you are good and you have a meaningful existence. This will be covered in the second part of the course. You will be able to connect the dots and create a positive self-esteem. Of course, it is hard to defeat the mind and get it motivated to believe about the goodness of yourself. It has been a long time that you have lived a shallow sense of self without knowing the real you. But now, you have to turn it around. There is a wonderful technique that you will learn in the next part of the course. All you need to do is to have a commitment that you have to get there. And once you are confident, you will be confident always. The sixth reason for low self-esteem is lack of support system. The word support system itself talks about support. Support system is the group of people in family, friend circle, which is available to anyone for practical and emotional support. The mind believes whatever the people in support system say. In your situation, either your close ones have not been there to tell you that you are good, or they did not make you feel that you're really worth. Maybe, unknowingly, they have said few negative things about you in the past which your mind has registered. Those who have a good bond with the support system find it easy to live life of confidence. Sometimes, the support system does not talk in the ideal way as you expect. But that does not mean that the support system is not there or they do not intend good. Sometimes, in their heart, they believe that you are good. But because they are very protective, they end up cautioning you, which appears negative to you. It is recommended that you must gain trust and courage to get in touch with family and friends who will always be there for you and think good for you. They exist for everyone, so they exist for you as well. Maybe till now you were not open and aware that you need to connect to them. It is helpful to just share the heart with the ones who are there for your support. And when you share your situation, they give their support in some or the other way. Even if this support is in form of a simple reassurance that you are good, it can do wonders for you. And then it becomes your responsibility to trust yourself. You are not supposed to talk about your weaknesses over and over again in front of them. Gain energy from them and grow it in your heart. And then, When you go back to them, tell that you are much better because of their help. When they see that their encouragement works, they will encourage you more. Now to conclude, you can say that till now you felt low about self more because of the thoughts and not because you are less. And all this is the game played by the mind. Either you learn the way to get the mind in control, or the mind will have control over your emotions. Sometimes feeling less and inadequate is normal and happens to everyone in some situations. But it is important that when you know that you are experiencing low because of being in this negative thinking cycle, you need to take charge of your mind and your thoughts. Otherwise, your mind is capable of making things worse for you. Now, when you have understood that it is about the thought patterns of your mind and not about your actual capability, you need to take voluntary action to change this involuntary functioning in the mind. Definitely it is possible. If you have understood the actual reasons behind the low self-esteem correctly, you are ready to learn the next part of the course. It is a structured step-by-step process to create a positive self-esteem. Good luck.